Battlefield 5 has been out for over a year now, and this is a game that's been rife with issues from the get-go, from the moment it was announced. You may recall that the wacky cosmetic aspects and the whimsical take on World War II garnered a lot of backlash from fans, and then when the game did eventually launch, it was half-baked, it was lacking in content, it was buggy, it definitely felt like it needed a couple more months to bake in the oven. It was just not a good release at all. And then the sales disappointed, and I guess people took up the challenge that Patrick Soderlund provided when he said, hey, well, if you don't like what you're seeing here, just don't buy the game. And then after launch, a lot of broken promises, a lot of content that went unfulfilled or delayed, a lot of bad patches and balancing. And when there was new content, it wasn't super compelling. It was inferior to new content and DLCs you would see from past entries in the series. And the one bright spot was the Pacific update, which added some new stuff, some new content, and some balancing and improvements and fixes that gave people some hope that, okay, maybe there is a future for Battlefield 5. But in comes patch 5.2. This is a patch that has proven to be nearly universally contentious among fans. People absolutely hate it. And if you just go to the Battlefield 5 Reddit, you will see that people are taking up arms to protest because it just makes such a drastic change to the core mechanics in the wrong direction that people are baffled that this patch was approved at all. There are a bunch of issues with this patch, but the one that people are really highlighting and talking about the most is the change to TTK, which stands for Time to Kill. The time to kill in Battlefield 5 with this new patch has been lowered drastically. It takes a lot more shots to kill another player, and that's just thrown everything off balance. It's changed the feel of the game for the worse, and people have taken to Reddit to express their dissent against this. So this is one popular post that's gained a lot of traction. The headline reads, "This is goodbye from me." And then the body of this post highlights a lot of the issues that many people agree with. This reads, "I may be downvoted to oblivion for this post, but I don't care. I've stuck with this game during its shittiest stages. I've endured the invisible soldiers, glitched death cams, hits that don't register, cheaters, and every other possible thing you can come up with. I believe that behind all of this, there is a game worth playing, and I just need to wait for the next update to make things better." And I waited and waited and waited, then Pacific update came and the game was finally good. And after all this, you introduced the worst possible update, and that includes updates that gave us basically nothing but new bugs and reintroduced the old ones. The TTK change is absolutely, completely 100% horrible. The new 3D spotting is the most noob-friendly thing I've ever seen in a AAA first-person shooter game. The game feels like kindergarten cops and robbers shooter. Just dump the whole magazine, baby, and maybe you'll kill one guy. You kept saying you want people to use different weapons in different situations. Noble idea, but why should I bother using something that barely outperforms other weapons in close ranges and is completely useless in every single situation? Close range weapons are hot garbage because you can never stay only in close quarter combat. The game just doesn't work like that. And then this concludes by saying that if the TTK isn't reverted or if heavy changes aren't made, this individual is not coming back. And this has gotten a ton of upvotes. And then if you scroll through the comments here, you will see that many share the same sentiments. Many are equally disappointed that a year into Battlefield 5's launch, we're still seeing major issues like this. To further highlight how unpopular this TTK change is, here's a video from Jack Frags, who told audiences to like the video if they actually like the new TTK and damage values, and to dislike the video if they dislike the new TTK and damage values. And if you scroll down here, you can see the ratio is off the charts, 5.8 likes versus 34,000 dislikes. This goes to show that the vast majority of the hardcore Battlefield 5 community absolutely hate this change. And the backlash is something that EA and DICE eventually picked up on, but unfortunately it doesn't seem as though they have any plans to revert back to the old TTK system. So here are some tweets posted by Twitter user Battlefield Bulletin, which specializes in Battlefield news updates. And this first tweet reads, "Report EA DICE is aware that the community is upset with Battlefield 5's TTK changes in 5.2, and they're looking at ways to address it. Plan is 100% to come back to everyone this week." says Freeman, hopefully before Friday. So sometime before Friday, DICE is probably going to provide an official statement about how they're going to rebalance 5.2 to appease the complaints. But to the dismay of the Battlefield community, according to this tweet, quote, according to Jeff Braddock, the dev team currently has no plans to fully revert Battlefield 5 5.2 TTK, but rather to make tweaks and or adjustments. And this is something that you can find on Reddit, posted right here by Braddock. This response reads, our plan isn't to fully revert it, it's to make tweaks and adjustments, and when we have those details, we'll share them. It should come as no surprise that this was met by further backlash. We've got Twitter users right here saying stuff like it's unbelievable what they did with this game, and it's not only the TTK, auto-spotting, exploits, crashes, and new bugs. The whole update is a bloody mess. The update itself should revert, not the TTK alone. 5.2 shouldn't exist. And on Reddit, we're seeing people calling this lack of foresight the final nail in the coffin. We are seeing others talking about how this is it for Battlefield, saying rest in peace and posting memes like this. And then here we have a Reddit user just asking DICE for some damn clarity and an honest response as to why they're going this route despite past promises. So this actually highlights a lot of the issues with this game and with the patch. The post reads, quote, DICE, if you're not going to revert the TTK and spotting changes, at least give us an honest answer. Not just to the question of why you actually thought it was a good idea to change the balance so drastically after it was the one thing the community still widely praised, but also to the question of why you went back on your promise of not changing the TTK again and not having us play the game by looking at UI, which is entirely the case with a new spotting and minimap. So the TTK was actually changed once before. It was called TTK 2.0. That's what this post is probably referring to, and now we're seeing yet another massive overhaul to the TTK that completely throws the game off balance, changes everything, and it's a change that people don't like. It just changes the fundamental feel of the game. Post continues, tell us why you were so withholding of information before this update and why you constantly claimed this was not a TTK change when it most certainly is. In fact, the TTK is probably the biggest change of the patch, the one that has the most drastic effect on the overall gameplay experience. Tell us why the feedback from the core community has been ignored on so many issues, with the real problems in the game still not having been addressed, like team balance, cheaters, netcode, and a plethora of bugs. Why have we heard nothing about this after over a year of the game being released? This all sure sounds like Fallout 76 and Anthem. Explain to us how this update could have possibly been approved when things as basic as the progression of the game is entirely broken, the end of round screen is constantly not functioning, the new spotting changes let you see through smoke and even walls, and several weapons having been made almost completely useless, ignoring the oversight of not changing high-velocity bullets on the MG42. You said you extensively tested this update, but it has been one of the most broken in the game's life cycle. So many of these live services these days, they claim that they test these extensively, but it takes the average player just a couple hours to see how many issues there are with an update or patch to recognize that it clearly needed more time. And it's especially insulting when this happens to a game that charges $60 that's supposed to be premium and AAA, that's supposed to be this live service that has a clear roadmap with clear plans, but none of that is ultimately fulfilled or achieved. Moving on, this reads, why are community games so underwhelming and basic when they already had to be delayed? So community games, I believe, is referring to the rental servers, private servers, and from what I've heard, the feature set in terms of customizing these servers is just very meager, especially compared to what previous Battlefield games achieved with private servers, and people are baffled that this promised feature is so just bare bones and half-baked, like the entire game. As it says right here, how can some of the most basic functions like naming a server or keeping players banned for more than just one session not be present? And then another qualm with private servers with server rentals is expressed here. What possible reason is there to not allow Tides of War progression on community games that have default settings? Not only is there already a cap on the maximum amount of XP we can earn per round, but it makes community games seems absolutely useless to people who haven't completed Tides of War yet. And even when they have, it still means that each week they're forced to play on DICE servers to unlock the weekly reward. Indeed, DICE has disabled any kind of progression in private servers, and people are wondering why the hell they would do that. I guess it might have something to do with DICE being afraid of people customizing the settings of these servers in a way that games go quicker and they can cheese their way through progression. But at default settings, the progression should just be there so that people can enjoy both progression and the comfort of private servers, but that's just something DICE isn't allowing, and it makes no sense. The post continues, why is there seemingly no communication between departments considering not a single weapon assignment has been tweaked to reflect the new TTK? Talking about assignments, why is still not possible to change them in-game, or even better, to have them all track all the time, like how it was in Battlefield 4. Again, the community has given plenty of feedback on this, so why has nothing been done about it? Where are all the cosmetics and weapons shown to us before? Have they been cancelled outright or been delayed massively? Why is the store constantly filled with the same cosmetics over and over again, with none of the good ones being purchasable with company coin? Why haven't there been any American or Japanese sets on sale, and why does the store only refresh every couple of weeks? DICE, I'm not asking you to make all these requests possible. I know that's never going to happen at this rate, yikes, but at least give us honest answers on them. So there's so many things people are waiting on, or so many things people are baffled by, and DICE's communication on them has been piss poor, and it's made the community all the more uneasy about the future of this game. And the post finishes off with, I'd rather have an honest, if harsh, answer to all these questions and you continuing to patronize us and blowing smoke up our asses by constantly making claims of listening to feedback, which have become nothing but empty words at this point. And beyond those posts that I highlighted, if you just scroll down through the Battlefield 5 subreddit and look at the top posts this week, you will see that it's all about people complaining or people posting memes and shitposts about this current situation. People who just don't understand how, over a year after launch, the game can still be in this state. And so this is where Battlefield 5 is currently at. It began pretty disastrously, and it continues to be a disaster. Despite that spark of hope that the Pacific update provided, we are now back to the community losing faith in a game that shipped as a mere shell that is still basically in beta. A lot of people feel like they're still playtesting the game rather than actually playing a final product. To conclude this video, here is a clip highlighting just how bad the TTK issue is. You can see how many times the enemy gets shot, but they still live through it, and same with this guy here, forcing the player to retreat. Yeah, this is not the Battlefield that people wanted. This isn't the Battlefield people have come to know throughout the years. And many deem this to be the worst state the Battlefield franchise has been in. Just when things seem like they were finally in an upswing, the game plummets into a direction that nobody can comprehend. It is perplexing how these live services can continue to botch the execution and planning of what is supposed to be a long-term game, but as these blunders continue, more and more people are giving up on this title, and we have seen this happen with Anthem, Fallout 76. This is why things like roadmaps and live services and long-term promises are no longer trusted. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the current state of Battlefield 5. If you've been playing the game and have tested out patch 5.2 and its TTK, leave any feedback you can in the comments. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.